Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our this episode of Geeky Clinicians Podcast. And we are so excited today to have Damani Anderson as our guest. As always, I am your chief geek, Dr. Deborah Dantzler, and I will let the other geeky clinicians introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Sandra Strozier, and I am a PMRP going into my third year here at 3D Psychotherapy. I am a graduate of Clark Atlanta University with an MA in clinical mental health. Woohoo!
And I am Beth Burmester. I graduated in May of 2025 from Agnes Scott College in Clinical Mental Health Counseling. And I just got my National Certified Counselor credential this week. And this is my first year in the postmaster's resident program, yes. And I also did my practicum and internship here. And so I'm super excited to be in the practice and to be in the PMRP program.
So thank you. All right. So we are so excited today. We have Damani Anderson. I'm going to tell you all a little bit about him. All right. So Damani is a seasoned professional with an unwavering commitment to community service and the well-being of individuals and families. His altruistic journey began with the pursuit of a bachelor's degree in social work at Clark Atlanta University in 2006, an institution renowned for its Black historical significance. Over the span of the next 15 years, Damani undertook pivotal roles, including serving as a child abuse investigator for the Fulton County Department of Family and Children's Services and talent search pre-college advisor for the Boys and Girls Club of Fort Worth, in addition to being a 15-plus year mentor for Big Brothers Big Sisters program of America. Damani's unwavering faith and relationship with God deepened his understanding of the transformative power of building relationships and fortifying family bonds. Following a decade of dedicated service and a poignant personal loss in 2009, Damani discerned a calling towards the intersection of family dynamics and mental health. This profound experience led him to pursue a master's in marriage and family therapy from Abilene Christian University, culminating in his graduation in May 2023. Currently holding the title of Licensed Marriage and Family Therapist Associate, Damani brings a wealth of experience and insight to his current position as a therapist with the Relationship Clinic in Dallas, Texas. In October 2023, Damani embarked on a new chapter by launching his brand, My Big Black Therapist. Rooted in his life experiences, his brand aims to normalize diverse attributes and challenge implicit biases surrounding race and body size within our culture. His goal is to represent God, life, love, and the pursuit of healthy emotional intelligence, fostering a safe environment for individuals seeking support. Beyond his professional accomplishments, Damani is a happily married man to his wife, Dr. Stephanie O.G. Anderson, and a devoted father to two beautiful daughters, Layla Ifomia and Kamara Nania. And you're going to have to correct me on those beautiful names. I'm sorry about that. Whether working with individuals, families, couples, or children, Damani remains steadfast in his role as a voice of encouragement and direction, dedicated to facilitating positive change one step at a time. Welcome, Damani. Welcome to the Geeky Clinicians Podcast.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm more than appreciative of the invite and the opportunity to be able to pour into your community and just share my story and my journey.
Awesome. So as you're familiar with the process here at Geeky Clinicians Podcast, we like to go all the way back.
Let's go.
I want to know, what is your origin story? There was some some sprinkled in the bio, but I want to know from day one, how did we start this clinical journey to become the professional licensed in marriage and family therapist associate and being the big Black therapist? Tell us your journey.
Absolutely. So it all started when my mama met my dad. We're not going to let that far. But I mean, it does start there. I have always been larger than everybody else my whole life, to a point where, even as a 5-year-old, I remember my grandmother telling me, like, I used to go around and play with the kids my age at church, but people thought I was special needs because I was so larger. And they're like, why is that big old boy playing with the little kids? And it's like, hey, he's the same age. But the wheel of implicit biases started early. The wheel of expectation because of my size. And for a good chunk of my life, at least half of my life, I lived and played the role to appease other people. Mm. I was the big guy. I had to be big and funny. I had to be the athlete because everybody always wanted, oh, you play sports. If I were to receive 1 cent, not even a dollar, most people say a nickel. If I receive a penny for every time somebody assumed that I played a sport or asked me what sport I played or told me that the nearest city needed me as a football player or smart player, I would literally be retired from how much money I could make off of that alone. But for years, I lived under that. And I would even lie and tell people that I played sports just so I can appease them. I would even, I even attempted to play sports and try to find a way to love it when it wasn't anything I was passionate about. And I don't talk about it in my bio, but I sing. I literally got a vocal scholarship to Clark Atlanta University, singing, and I sang a part of the Philharmonic Society for 4 years. Getting paid to do that, like that's my passion. That's something that I did, but I didn't talk about it or I didn't allow it to really, shine until I got to college because I wanted to live like everybody else. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to feel accepted. I wanted to feel loved. So it was birthed off of the space of that, especially when you couple in the fact that, during that time, my mother lived in DC, and I would visit her every summer, but I didn't live with my mom and I didn't know my dad. So at base, I felt a disconnect, even though the love was, even though the caring was there, even though all the things that I needed was right there with me, I still felt disconnected from my family. And I still didn't feel accepted because the two people who, in my mind, should have been there wasn't. So that was birthed in. That was the underlying seed. So then you couple that with the fact that I'm trying to live for everybody else, or I'm trying to keep this facade for everybody else, this status of being a big Black man. So I got to be an athlete and I got to do all of these different things. I then began to live for other people. And the biggest point, the pivotal moment in my life happened when I was working for the Department of Family and Children's Services. I was literally headed out on a case. I had just left a case, and I was headed out on another case where I had to go see an immediate. So those who are in that field, who've ever worked in Family and Children's Services, they typically have two options here. Like if there's either immediate concern where you have to go out right then and that time, or 24 hours. Within 24 hours, you need to make eye contact with the child. So this was an immediate. So that means that child was in some type of danger, or that was the notes that was sent over about the child was immediate danger. So therefore, I needed to go see them and lay eyes on them right then in that moment. So I'm sitting in the elevator and I'm about to leave. And an Asian guy walked up to me. He looked up and he was like, "Man, you're a really big." And I was just like, "Yeah, and he was like, "Hey, so what do you do?" And I just said, right now, I'm a social worker. I'm actually about to go out on the case. I'm a child investigator. All of this and that. And he was like, "That's it?" I was just like, "Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm doing." He looked at me and he said, "Man, what a waste of $1 billion body." And then just got off the elevator and it was at that point that it hurt to think about the stuff that I'm doing, the work that I'm doing in this community, the pouring out that I'm doing, and to only be labeled for my body, for my size, to only be expected to be good or to only be expected to use my body for something versus who I am as a person and the other spaces that make me special. that was that turning point. I was like, I can't keep living for everybody else. I can't keep doing those things. So once I got my master's degree and I kind of moved forward with that, God put it on my heart to call myself my big Black therapist, to challenge those implicit biases, to take back that childhood, the little boy who always felt powerless, who always felt like he couldn't have a voice and he couldn't be what he wanted, and to finally be that in this space and be that as my big Black therapist and challenge those who may have those thoughts. So that is the birth of my big Black therapist.
Yes, awesome. Oh my, that I could feel that pain that you just described when you were in that elevator and that person. How dare they, right? Again, this idea of the fact that there are these implicit biases and how that's a block or a barrier to belonging and connection. He didn't see you as a human. He didn't see you as Damani, the singer, the creative, the thoughtful, the compassionate person. He literally just saw a frame and made a judgment and had a bias there. So I'm so excited to hear more about your work in breaking these barriers and some of those wins and some of those challenges. But I want to open it up to the other geeky clinicians. Questions for Damani?
My question is related to all of this. More specifically, what brought you to the field of counseling and therapy? Like you said, you started with social work. How did you then sort of evolve into licensed family and marriage therapy?
Thank you, Bev. That's a great question. Because especially my social work people, they always get on me about that. I get told off by some of my friends, like, you should have just been to MSW. You could have went that route. You could have done this. I get it. I understand. I could have. But for me personally, the passion was families. So as mentioned before, I work for Family Children Services, and my whole knack growing up was that I wanted to impact my community. I wanted to help out, my people. I wanted to help out people who lived the same life as me, who didn't have their parents in their lives, and all of those different things. So at first, I thought I wanted to do a mentoring program and kind of go that route. But once I got into the Family Children Services, I was excited to be able to impact families. But once I got to that level, and just having a BSW, I was just a caseworker. And not saying just as if it's, not it needs more respect and more admonishment than it has, because the work that we do as a caseworker is so pivotal, and it's so much, and it's so impactful. But I realized that I couldn't impact the families in the way I wanted to, because I wasn't able to spend that much time with them, because typically after 30 days you need to have a case closed within as soon as possible, to be honest. But a very max during that time was like 30 days. So that doesn't build time for me to build any rapport. And then once I build a rapport with that child, I'm moving on to the next. I have another case. I have another one. I have another one. So I'm not being able to even track the longevity and the progress. But who I was referring the children to, which were therapists, were the ones who was able to actually get in there and actually do that work. So that was one of the triggers there. And then years later, as I went through life, I recognized that I started tracing back, like, where did what happened to the nucleus family? And how has that impacted my community? How has that caused an issue? And at what point did it drop? And at what point did we stop using the village? And all of those different things. So when I started going back to get my master's, I thought about social work and my MSW, and it was just such a mass amount of areas that you could go into. But I really wanted to focus on family. I really wanted to work to learn family systems. I wanted to learn children. I wanted to learn that concept specifically. And that's what drove me. That's what called me to marriage and family therapy. Because, yes, I could go out and work and do different. I wanted to focus on just the family and really make that my niche, really make that my area of expertise. And the beauty of marriage and family therapy is that we do see individuals, we see couples, we see groups, we see all of those different things. So I'm still able to be under that umbrella, but I get to look at things from a family lens and really like hone in on that and learn and pull those theories, pull those interventions down to help create my own style with my community that I'm seeing, so that I can impact them in a special way.
Excellent. Other questions for Damani? So I have a question, Damani. This journey, it wasn't linear, but it sounds like you found your home with working with families, with within family systems, working with people to really challenge and break and create new ways of looking at individuals themselves and the world, and challenging worldviews and reducing implicit bias. So what gets you the most geeked up about doing this clinical work, right? That's why we're geeky clinicians, because we love the work that we do. What gets you most geeked up about being a clinician?
The aha moment.
Uh-huh.
I love the aha moment. Like I love the and that's what I mentioned before in terms of like when I was a caseworker, I never got to walk the client through the process. So when those clients who decide to stay, because some of them stay, some of them leave. When those who decide to stay and I actually see and be able to track the aha moment, it's such a like, oh, look at us. Like, look at what we're doing. Look at what you're accomplishing. Like 6 weeks ago, you were not this person. You didn't look at things through that lens, and look at you now. You're processing things. You're you know what I'm saying, you're practicing skills. You're giving grace. When grace, before you didn't even understand that. I've had clients who were on the verge of wanting to leave and not care about life. Now living prosperously, loving on their wives, loving on their husbands, and really like so intertwined in their family that when we do a recap, they don't even recognize. They're like, "Wow, I forgot." So it's those aha moments that I love to change, and however small, because sometimes some people don't recognize. Like we think change has to be a big thing that's not. All I'm looking for is just a slight difference. And being able to bring that to the light of my client, allowing them to see that and see the joy and see the difference in the way they look and the way they move forward is euphoric.
Yes, awesome. Questions for Damani?
Damani, I want to piggyback off something you said. What has been the feedback or any acceptance in you naming yourself and your business as my big Black therapist? What have you received thus far?
Yeah, oh yeah, I receive a lot. Some people think it's a joke. I receive those who think it's a joke and not thinking it's real. But overwhelmingly, people support it. Whether they do it, whether they talk about it outside, but when they come to me, they support it. They like it. They like the concept of it. And the reason why I want to say overwhelmingly is because often I innate abilities to focus on things. My innate ability is to focus on, like, if you think about social media, you can have 100 comments of people saying they like you, but that one person that said they don't like you, you reply to, or you sit on that all day versus 90 people said that they enjoy it. 90 people say they like it. So for me, have I had feedback? Have I had people who were apprehensive? My own wife at one point, she the thing I love about her the most is that she supported me regardless, but she was just like, I won't do that. But I trust you, especially because I told her I feel like God called me to this. God called me to walk in this life. And she was just like, well, I'm gonna support you 10 toes down. And now on this side, she's like, this is beautiful. Like, I love to see it. I love to see the success that's happening. I love to see the confidence that I see in you as a husband, as a father, as a therapist, all of those things. I see the light and I'm appreciative of it. But I've had people to say it's too abrasive. You're only going to shut out a certain amount of people. You're not going to accept certain people. Are you only for Black people and all this? Not. Like, I'm just calling, the way that I post it is I'm calling it what people see. So y'all can't tell here, but I'm 6'9". Like, I am a 6'9" man. So when I walk in a room, I'm not skinny. So I walk in the room and I'm large. So they see a large man already. So I'm big. So then, my skin tone is dark. America, this culture says that this is considered black. So I'm black. When we have a conversation, they ask me, what do you do for a profession? Oh, I'm a marriage and family therapist. I'm a therapist. Big, black therapist. When you break it down like that, it sounds fine. But when we put the words together, that's when it becomes something. It's like, oh. So that's what I want to challenge. Why is it that when we put these words together, why is it that when we put big and black together, there's something in us that makes us feel a little weird and like, oh, that's too much. When I walk in a room and you see a big black guy and you find out he's a therapist, in your mind, you're putting it together, he's a big black therapist. So, but yeah, when it came down to the feedback, overwhelmingly people was in support, but some of the people that I did, I looked up to, or some of the people that I were my mentors, even my wife, they were apprehensive. But when I'm called, I walk. And I'm like, this is my calling, so I'm walking honestly. We're going to see what happens at the end. At the end of the day, if it fails, I'm still a therapist. So I can still go back to Damani Anderson, LMFT associate, until I get my fully life. Like, I can still fall back and learn too. So it doesn't erase anything. It doesn't erase my credentials. It doesn't erase any of those things. So, but what is the benefit if I decide to stand boldly in this? And how many people can I impact if I decide to be bold in this? And that's what I'm seeing is just the impact.
Yeah.
I love the way you challenge yourself and move forward with the healing process for yourself. And it says a lot about you and your character and what your passion and goal is in the business. So thank you.
Thank you. I definitely received that. Thank you.
Yeah, and to definitely piggyback on what Sandra just said there, I love that you're not afraid to show up authentically, right? Wait, so when we saw the name, right? Because again, we're getting words on paper first, right? It's a difference. Like if you had walked into the room, it's very clear. Oh, my big black therapist. Clearly, you're 6'9", right? But words on paper was like giant question mark. What's happening here, right? And so I love that because one, it's very intriguing and it grabs people. And you're right, it does make us have to take a step back and be aware of what happens in our body automatically when we react to those words, right? And then we have to take the deeper level of challenging not only why did we have that reaction, but what was the underlying understanding for ourselves when we had that reaction? And what was it? Was it the word big? Was it the word black? It certainly wasn't for us the word therapist. We are therapists, but for some people, maybe it is. But what part of this was activating, and then the understanding of why it was activating for us?
Yeah. Yeah.
I really appreciate the intentionality in choosing that and sort of knowing the roots and the evolution. And also, I appreciate the way you talked about how you wanted to be bold and that it's a process of developing the kind of confidence to, create your brand as well as to do this work. We can't pour from an empty cup. And so there's that, how do we, we are the vessel in a lot of ways, but how do we then create our own sense of connection and renewal so that we can be receptive and do the work with others? And it sounds like you found some really solid ways of doing that, especially involving your own family. So doing the work with your family and then how that reflects on working with other families.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
So Damani, I have another question. On this journey, this clinical journey, what has been some of the biggest challenges that you faced?
That's a good question. I would say one of my biggest challenges is the need to faith. First off, faith and understanding. Because for me, I went the private practice route, So even though I'm an associate, I went to private practice. So the relationship clinic that I work at is a private practice. So what comes with that is that, I got to be the one to get out here and get clients. There's not a set number of clients. And then also, we don't accept insurance. So we don't get on insurance files. So it's an added layer of development and work that, for a while, like I questioned if this is what I need to be doing. Like, should I go this route? Like, should I? Because it's just like, I hear a calling from God, and I'm like, okay, He wants me to do this, so I know He's gonna bless me. So, my expectation is big black therapists come out here. One thing they talk about is, black therapists, especially men, we are considered a unicorn in this space because we're less than 1% of the population of psychotherapists across the U.S. So I'm just like, oh, well, then they're gonna be pouring in. Like, this is gonna be great. That's not how that works. That's not how that works. And so being able to continue to pour into the community, being able to continue to make social media posts, hop on podcasts, talk about all these different things, but yet I have not brought in any clients. For months, I may have had at the beginning of this year, I may have had 7 clients or 7 sessions a month for a while. And so it became, and then last year, it was just scarce. It was very scarce. And so it was a lot of doubt on my end. Am I doing this right? Am I really supposed to be moving in this way? And God calling me this way and all of these different things. But yet, every now and then, God, a client would tell me how much it impacted them right at that moment, right at that brink. And they were like, man, brother, like you said this, or hey, you said this, and this is that. And I just thank you so much. And this is like, okay, all right. And now, right now I have like maybe 16 clients that I'm seeing a week right now, looking to try to, I'm actually at the tail end of like, okay, I need to slow down. Now I'm in that space of trying to, okay, pace myself and not take on too much. So I think that biggest challenge, especially in the private practice realm, is really being able to find your voice, find your niche, find your community, be branded out there so people can know about you and you can be able to receive those clients on a consistent basis and push them through, even when you don't feel like it's moving the way that it should be. And then I would say the second part is me finding that balance. One thing as a black man, or as a man, it's not even a black man. The man, as a father and a husband, society tells us that we're only worth as much as we can produce. This is what society states. This is not what the truth is, but the society states that if a man don't work, he don't eat. If a man is not producing and not getting out here grinding and not bringing home a paycheck, then he's not a man. And so for me, the grind, like right now, like I typically try to hold from 5 to 7 is family time every single day. As clinicians, that's the money time. Like, let's be honest, 5 to 7 is when everybody get off work. This is a perfect time to do it. 5 to 7 at weekends, it's like, oh, this is where, but I've chosen my family over there. So between 5 to 7, I don't see clients. On the weekends, I don't see clients. And that has challenged me in terms of my manhood and really understanding, what I'm called to do, understanding what God is going to bless me through because I'm obedient, because I'm prioritizing my family and loving on them and being there for them between these hours so that I can my girls down, so that I can say I love you to my wife and talk to her and ask her how her day is, so that I can spend the weekend with my girls and do stuff and take my wife out on dates and really, pour into my community of other men outside of this instead of chasing after the bag, instead of chasing after the money. That has been a wrestle. Those are probably my top 2 biggest hurdles at this moment.
Oh, thank you for that. And that it is a challenge in the private practice or area because we really do have to be bold and put ourselves out there because it's that know, like, and trust. It's not like going to work for an agency or even a place like DFACS and things like that, where you show up on day 1 and here's your caseload of 75, right? You have to build that. And I think I love that as an associate, you are holding no fear with saying, I deserve to be in this space. I'm valuable. I know I offer value, and I'm going to put my voice out there, and I'm going to attract clients. And I love that this word obedience, right? That you are holding your boundaries firm, right? You use the word obedience. I'm saying the word boundaries, but it's the same thing.
Same thing.
It's the same thing. It is what I'm okay with and what I'm not okay with. And what I'm not okay with is chasing a bag and missing time with my family. I love that. I love that you have that awareness and that priority for yourself. Questions for Damani? Sandra, if you're saying something, you're on mute. So we talked about biggest challenges. I want to flip that on its head. What have been your biggest wins? What are I know we talked about what gets us geeked up is having that light bulb go on for the client and those aha moments and watching that process of growth, which I think is honestly one of the biggest privileges we get to have as being therapists, is people trust us enough to be present and watch them and accompany them on their personal growth journey. I love that. That's such a privilege. But what have been like any specific wins that you've had as a geeky clinician?
My win is, especially once again in the private practice sector, is being able to spend that time with my family. That's my biggest win, to be honest. Like I can talk about, all the other stuff. I can talk about the contracts that I was able to get and all the. My biggest win is being able to have that flexibility to be able to, take my daughter out on a date and pull her out of daycare and take her out on a date, or being able to, they off this week. Okay, hey, let me move stuff around so I can take care of them. Having a clinic that does that. My supervisor, Gary at the relationship clinic, he has 5 girls. And the thing about he knows, like, it's times where he may need me in the clinic, but he like, man, oh, you ain't got to watch your girls. Okay, hey, that's fine. Like he gives me grace in that space to be able to support and be a family man and pour into it. My wife is a medical doctor. She works at one of the county hospitals here in Dallas area, and she has a 7-day on, 7-day off shift. So for 7 straight days, she works, 10, 11 hours, and then 7 days off. She's completely off. So during that time, I'm able to, go on dates and spend time with her outside of where I would be if I'm doing something else. I'm able to shift my clientele around so that I'm able to get my girls at a certain time and be there for them in that space and do all of these different things. I'm able to go to church and worship and lead my praise team and do all, like, I'm able to do all of these different things, and I have that space to be able to do it. And that's been the biggest blessing for me. Especially now that as I get more clients, I am becoming more busy. I am actually bringing home money, and it's a blessing to be in that space now. But just being able to not have to alter my life and sacrifice as one would think for the cause of getting my hours and chasing after the money. So being able to have that flexibility and see the growth in that. And we still in our house. We still, being able to save up and go on a trip. We still being able to do the things that we normally do. And it's not, taking a hit on anything is the biggest blessing.
Yes, awesome. You mentioned earlier when talking about the awareness of being, I think you said 1% of
less than 1%.
Yeah. Less than 1% of all therapists, all clinicians are men. And so
black men.
Black men. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so this idea of awareness of being a unicorn, right? That sounds in some ways like it could be a weighted responsibility or a sense of freedom. I don't know. You tell me.
So yeah, it could be a double-edged sword depending on how we look at it. I feel like, for me, it is it's a blessing. It's a blessing. My goal is to unify, to get our voices out there even louder. And I think that's a struggle that we have as clinicians across the board, not just a specific race or specific, like, everybody can eat. There's enough food for everybody to eat on the table. Like, why are we so selfish with our resources? Why are we so selfish with trying to get someone within our own network or trying to refer somebody within? I only refer people that I know. Like, everybody can eat. Even when it comes down to, I guess, it may be less because I believe it was 4% were black, and then were just black specifically, and then 25% of that 4%, or 25% of that 4% were males, were black males. So it was like when I looked at the data, it was all the way down to that point. But that's still a large number of people. And what will happen if we get 50 to 100 black male therapists on one space and shout it out and let people know? Like, what happens if we all came together and really allowed our voices to be louder? And that's something that I'm looking at more so than anything. Like, it's not a burden to me. I don't feel like it's, oh, I have to do this up, because that's not change isn't my responsibility. It's not my responsibility. Like, I do my part and I pour in and I lead you towards the spaces, but the change is on you. And that's something I had to learn, because when I first started off, especially as an intern, they didn't do this and they did that, and they still feel this way, and I'm holding on to that. And it's not my responsibility to hold on to that space. My responsibility is to pour in and provide and give you the tools. You got to pick them up. And if you don't pick them up, that's not a reflection of me.
Yeah.
Maybe you need another therapist to help process it, but that still doesn't devalue who I am as a clinician, as a professional. So when it comes down to this whole concept of like, is this a burden? It's not. It's not. It's a blessing. I get to represent, and now I get to pour other people in, encourage other men to either think about seeking therapy, or also become a therapist themselves and unpack their own traumas and help other people and help impact other lives in other communities.
Awesome. Yes, I love that. Other questions for Damani before I ask the final question and wrap up?
Just going to say, I'm so glad that you're talking about the idea of boundary setting and kind of creating how much of yourself you're willing to put into the therapy, and then reserving for community engagement and, having other, your family and your friends and your church, so that, again, it's sort of like all the things that relate to you and help you become the best version of yourself are built into how you're building your practice and thinking of your professional identity. And I think that's really important, because so many new clinicians are really worried about, doing more and like kind of making sacrifices that can lead to burnout. And so I think the model that you're presenting is really great for that, reminding that, we make choices, we have choices, and we can make this work in any number of ways. It doesn't have to be this singular model or, sacrificing in order to get where we want to be. It's like, it's okay. We can do it slowly, but we can do it with this awareness of keeping our own development and what's important to us at the center of it.
Yes, thank you, and I definitely agree. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. Uh-oh, is everybody still here? You're still here. You're here,
Okay.
Damani. You're here. We're good. All right, so my big black therapist, Damani Anderson. One of the questions that we ask all of our guests here on Geeky Clinician Podcast is, what are your best hopes? What are your best hopes for the future of our profession?
That's a really good question. My best hopes is that we're able to got a lot of air. I'm trying to figure out which route I want to go. One of my best, we are able to tear down a bit as therapists, as professionals. There is a standard that is expected of therapists that doesn't align with all cultures or all identities. And there is a standard that they want us to be able to model and utilize for safety reasons, but also for control. And as more of us come into this field and process and also recognize that everything is a theory. So everything is a theory, not a fact, a theory. And the more that we understand the concept of what a theory is, we don't have to hold so strong to certain dynamics, and not so much of, not in a way that is unethical. So I'm not even speaking from an ethical lens, but even challenging certain types of standards and practices, interventions that we utilize for our couples or for our individuals, for our separate cultures, and being able to define it and have your own voice in that and be supported. I think that's one of the biggest hopes that I have, and I even say it like, one of the things is like racial trauma. Racial trauma is not, the DSM wouldn't acknowledge that as a direct impact for communities of people, especially specifically people of color. And from my studies and from my experience and from the clients that I'm meeting, I'm having conversations with, like, that is a real thing that happens. And that is something that should be readily explored. But yet, certain areas don't allow us to do that, which I'm not gonna say I understand, but I mean, I get it. I would say that I get it. I don't understand. I don't agree with it. But if we're saying that we are a professional group of people who accept others, who create safe spaces for others to be able to express themselves, be themselves, then that should also apply to us as clinicians. That should also apply to us when we're in those meeting rooms and we're expressing how these things impact our lives. It should be heard. It should be listened to. It should be valued. It should be assessed. And also it should be reflected upon our standards and our expectations of our culture. Of our community and of our profession. But yet politics are always in every area of life. And, so my hope is that, one day we get to that space of really, truly healing and hearing everybody and giving everybody their space that's properly needed, and not based upon politics, not based upon funding, not based upon being accepted for other standards and other reasons.
Excellent. Oh, thank you so much for that. Drop some great nuggets there. What I heard in terms of the best hopes are the freedom for clinicians to act freely and best serve the people they serve, and without boundaries of limitations from some hierarchy of some sort. I love that. And I think that's a great hope for our future. All right. Thank you so much, Damani, for being with us today. And for those people who are watching, if you have not already, please like, subscribe, share this video. My Big Black Therapist, Damani Anderson's contact information, website, all of that will be in the show notes. Reach out to him. And we appreciate all of you guys, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Have a good one.